This is Oft Off Topic, a show where two men with the attention spans of a squirrel try and fail to stay on topic with today's subject. Where will their oral meanderings take us? Well, stick around and listen, because today's Oft Off Topic is... Ahsoka, the Disney Plus Star Wars show where Rosario Dawson competes with Force users Ron Swanson and Billie Eilish to find the dude from the Eiffel 65 video I'm Blue. This is a new series... Oh, come on. You know those two Jedi kind of look like Ron Swanson and Billie Eilish if you squint your head, turn it just a little bit.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I just think about
it's a stretch, but
it is a stretch.
It's what I have.
I will say though, it's like I really do like the guy who plays. Oh, blank on his name.
Balin.
The guy. Sorry,
Balin, and he's
Balin. I love Balin.
Yeah, I love that character too. He is actually one of my favorite new Star Wars characters in a long time, and I'm kind of sad we're not going to see any more of him.
Yeah, he's my second favorite Punisher, and because
he was the Punisher, huh?
He played the Punisher in the lesser known, more comic accurate version of the Punisher. There was the what's his face?
Thomas Jane.
Before him,
Dolph Lundgren.
Thank you. There was Dolph Lundgren. He was the first live action Punisher. It was awful. Let's all agree. It could have been better. It's like there were some hits, but it was primarily misses with that character. But it was the 80s. They didn't comic book movies weren't really a thing. So
and people wanted to see a nude Dolph Lundgren meditating in a sewer.
Yeah. So whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. Howard the Duck kind of ruined comic book movies for the 80s a little bit. People didn't really want to try after that.
Thomas Jane's number 2. Not number 2, but like the next one up. So if Dolph Lundgren 4, Thomas Jane is 3. Whereas like he looked the part, but the movie wasn't the Punisher. They try to make it bigger. Like, instead of his wife and kids being killed, they killed his entire bloodline. Like, that wasn't necessary. And then this kid's like,
the Punisher is tied down to a chair. It's like, your third cousin Giuseppe from the old country? He's like, no, we murdered him too. Do you know his 4 children? Like, no, I've never heard of these people. We murdered them as well. Your whole bloodline.
And then it's like, and then the skull shirt was like, his kid gave it to him because I was on the island. It was like some spirit of rebirth, and he gives it to him, and he comes up, and he's like, wear that shirt in respect of his dead kids. Like, no, it's a skull. It means death.
That sounds kind of stupid.
It's stupid.
And Did they have one of those scenes later in the movie where he's like trying to rescue his shirt before it burns up and like dramatic music plays? He's like, Papa, here's the skull shirt for you.
You wouldn't be that far off, to be honest. Well, and then it's like, look, I am not going to say the Punisher is one of my favorite comic book characters. I really appreciate for what he is. I appreciate what he does. I had thoroughly enjoyed his comics, but he's by no means my favorite. That being said, like there were several Punisher storylines that were really, really, really good. And they kind of
had a Punisher moment back in the 90s, and I liked him.
And they touched on him a little bit with the Giant Russian. That particular line or storyline is actually more like that Russian that came in with a striped shirt. He is a full-fledged character in the comics, and he's kind of showed up and didn't speak.
I am Sergei the Dancing Bear Trainer. Meet my army of dancing bears. As they all like driving on little cars and jump on the Punisher.
That would be funny. It'd be dumb, but it'd be funny. Well, because and the thing is, the Russian who attacks him in the comics was very wordy. He talked a lot. He was constantly talking. And by the way, after Punisher kills him, the Russians come in and like take his head, and they take his head and put it on a body of another, like a robot type body or like a whatever, and they genetically engineer him, but due to some like flaws in some of their testing, he gets huge boobs, and he loves it. And so he just like he constantly gets like breast implants that add more boobs to him because he is just in love with his own boobs. Anyway,
my name is Tits McGee now. Respect me.
So, and anyway, whatever. I mean, my biggest issue was he wasn't bloody enough. I mean, there's a scene where he tortures a guy, but he's psyching him out. He's putting like popsicle on him. To make him
I remember somebody talking about that. Yeah,
it's like
no, the torch burns so hot he feels cold.
I mean, there's a scene in the comics where he like captures a guy, hangs him from a tree, pulls out his intestines, and then starts interrogating him. Like, that's not the Punisher. He's not like, trickery. He's very just brutal and straight. Anyway,
until you want that PG-13 rating, then you got to change things up just a little bit.
Well, then then here comes man. Why I'm terrible with names. What's his face again?
Thomas Jane. Oh,
no,
the Balin.
Yeah, Balin. Shoot. Yeah, let it be known, I names are the bane of my existence. I cannot remember names.
Oh, I'm just horrible at that too. Ray Stevenson, I believe.
Yes, jeez, thank you.
Because all I can think is Ray Stevenson do is saying the streak. Oh yes, they call him the streak. Look at that.
What?
Oh, yeah.
That's outside of my wheelhouse. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a song from like the 70s. Don't look, Margaret, he's streaking. But she looked.
No idea what you're talking about. He was a Punisher, and now it's funny because the woman who did this movie, she had actually done another movie earlier that like got Oscars or whatever. It was that bomb movie. It was like the Iraq like bomb maker.
Oh, Hurt Locker.
Yes,
that one.
She did Hurt
How
Locker.
did I know that? Good job, Shaun.
That was a good pull. She did Hurt Locker, and then she did this next. And she actually stuck very close to comics. But in doing that, it actually hurt her because when they did the premiere, they're like, okay, this is really crazy, violent, and whatever. We're going to give them like comics. Like they gave the press like little comics and kind of go, hey, this is the feel we're going. And they left that movie like honestly thinking there's something wrong with her. They're like, she is a bloodthirsty maniac. She shouldn't be around civilized people. I mean, it is. But the movie was like, it really
this woman is unhinged. How dare she tell stories? It's not all cupcakes and fireflies.
Crazy bloody and like very R. And Ray Stevenson was great in his role as a Punisher. He really did. He nailed it.
I could totally see him pulling that off because he's just kind of got that badass aura about him.
And they also had one of his known villains, which is a villain called Jigsaw, which is basically someone who carved all his face up. And
I remember Jigsaw.
So, yeah, and he did that. And they also did the ending of the movie was actually really good. They did almost a Dredd, where if you ever see Dredd, not Judge Dredd, but Dredd.
Yeah, the second one.
Yeah, where he goes to the building. Same thing. At the very end was like, it was almost like a video game. They taunted him to come to this abandoned building. They filled it with a bunch of different gangs. Each gang took a different floor, and he had to go through each floor, killing all the gang members.
So it's kind of like the Raid.
Kind of, yeah. And so I haven't seen the Raid, but I know of it.
Neither have I, but I know of it. And yeah.
And he goes all the way, and then he wins and blah blah blah. And of course, that the best Punisher being the most recent one. Again,
the Ray Stevenson one.
No, the best Punisher being the last one they did, which was he was in the TV show. He was in basically the TV show's version. Burke something.
Burke Baccarat.
Sure, why not? I mean, I'm sure the listeners know.
A crooner from the 70s.
Yeah, I'm sure the listeners know. It's like, you know what? I really try not to Google, but I'm going to do it.
You can Google. I mean, I usually cut out the parts where it's like, I'm going to Google this. So
after this, let's move on because we're not talking about the Punisher. I'm just doing this.
We are. We're talking about the Punisher a lot at the moment.
Right. Well, I mean, that's not the point of the show. John Bernthal.
I've kind of heard that name.
Bernthal. John Bernthal.
Bernthal, not Berthamall.
No, John Bernthal. He was actually really good. Like, he was a great Punisher. He wasn't as comic accurate as Ray Stevenson was, but I will say though, he was the best. I really do enjoy like his version of it. It does kind of annoy me that he didn't go. It took his appearance in Daredevil and his going through 2 seasons full of like backstory crap for him finally just to be like the Punisher that we all know. Like at the last like 15 minutes of the final episode of the second season, that's when he's like, okay, now he's got all the backstory out of the way. Now he's just going after street thugs. He's out there just murdering people, which is fine.
That's the Punisher's thing.
Yeah. So Ray Stevenson, all this to be said, we took way too much time on the Punisher, but Ray Stevenson, he's one of my favorite actors that I never think about. You know what I mean?
Now I'm thinking about Ron Swanson as the Punisher. That could be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Just literally the Ron Swanson character playing the Punisher. I'm here to murder you, correct? Give me all your bullets, every last bullet in the store. I know you think I'm talking about just a few bullets.
I also appreciate he was very square, very blunt. He felt like a blunt instrument because he would come in. Balin.
Or we're talking about the Punisher still.
No, we're actually going to Ahsoka now.
Okay.
But we've been off topic on this a lot enough. But
Balin, Skull, and Shin Hati are their names.
What?
Ben Balin Skoll is the dude's name, and Shin Hati is his apprentice.
Yes. So Balin Skoll, which is a great name.
Skoll and Hati are actually the two Norse mythology wolves that chase the sun and moon through the sky.
Oh, there you go. I did not know that.
Yeah, there's a lot of wolf imagery in this series. Dave Filoni is really big on wolves.
That makes sense.
Apparently, it is a thing. He's got like wolves on his shirt. He's always writing about wolves. Like his character in Star Wars is like Lone Wolf or something like that, or Wolf Trap.
I guess that also makes sense because there was some imagery about the world between worlds where it was like wolves chasing each other, like in a circle.
The Norse, they're basically the offspring of Fenrir.
Right.
So you know. Yeah.
Yay, Fenrir. So I really did appreciate his rendition of this like baddie. I'm gonna tell you what,
he's almost more neutral leaning baddie kind of.
Yeah, like
he's not really like intentionally evil or sinister. He's just kind of like, I'm here to do a job and I've got my own little agenda going on.
Well, like a lawful evil type thing.
Yeah, that works. That's also the reason I guess they gave him the orange lightsabers to show that they're not truly Jedi or Sith. They're kind of in between.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I didn't really see those orange until someone said, "Hey, look, they're orange." I was like,
"Yeah, neither did I." It was like, "Oh, okay. I guess that's neat."
I mean, I guess I see more red there, but whatever.
Yeah. Also, one thing I didn't really realize is the beginning of all these Disney Plus series. You know, it's got the little helmets going by and the colors flashing on them. That's actually kind of like a sign of what's coming up in the future episodes. Like whatever color flashes on that character, it's if they're going to be good or bad that episode, or do good or bad things. Yeah,
I picked that up.
Yeah, like literally on the 4th episode where the Mandalorian chick, she hands over the little orb and stuff, and is like, "Hey, fine, we'll go find Ezra." Yeah, in that episode, like her helmet shines red because she made a bad choice that episode. Yeah, kind of neat. I almost always skip through that beginning part because, you know, the button is like, skip this. I'm like, okay.
So I guess I should ask, how much do you know about Ahsoka as a character?
Not a whole lot. She was Anakin's understudy until she ran off and abandoned Anakin, thus leading him to the dark side in a weird way.
Well, yes and no. She did. Okay, in some respects, she did abandon Anakin, but it wasn't her abandoning Anakin. She was leaving the Jedi Order. So it wasn't like
the one person Anakin had in the Jedi Order he could look towards abandoned him. Thus,
yeah, I mean, I'm sure he felt abandoned. Knowing Anakin, he definitely felt abandoned because they were pretty tight, and he raised her up basically, and made her who she was, and she took off.
He gave her the nickname Snips,
which is the dumbass nickname.
It makes me think of Citizen Snips, the crab from fucking Futurama. Citizen Snips. It was a criminal who had all like the animals that would help him rob banks. Yeah,
that's awesome.
He had a crab named Citizen Snips. So that's all I can think of is her just being a crab. I was gonna say, so yeah, I don't know a ton about Ahsoka really, other than what I've seen on this and what I've read other people talk about.
Well, I actually watched all of Clone Wars, so I actually have a pretty. I know pretty much about her. I will say though, I did not watch all of Rebels. I kind of had to do some like YouTubing to see kind of the end of it. I started watching.
Apparently, it really helps to watch Rebels before you see this from whatever.
Yeah, I probably still need to go back and watch it. I mean, I got to the point where she shows up, but I didn't get to the point where she was like the last season where she was trying to train Sabine or whatever. I just kind of saw like the highlights. I saw Thrawn. Thrawn's also one of my favorite characters, but I've liked him since the book. So yeah, I've liked Thrawn. I really liked Ezra, give or take. Some of the characters they brought in on Rebels. I don't know. I'm not a huge Ezra fan. That being said, like
Ezra is, I don't know. I did see a little bit of Rebels. I don't know. There's gonna be the wrong term to use, but Ezra, I don't know. He felt kind of like generic hero, generic do-gooder. I don't know. There wasn't much to set him apart from anything else other than just like, I'm a scrappy young dude who's trying to make a change in this weird world.
I just never bonded with him as a character. The funny thing about Ahsoka though, and I went through kind of the same like transitions as most of the fandom. When she first showed up, like on that movie that came out, the 2-part movie they released in theaters, for the very big episode 1 and 2 of Clone Wars, she was irritating as hell. I mean, she was this like little brash, young.
I'm young and spunky and got everything almost like an annoying My Little Pony character.
What it is exactly. She wouldn't listen to instructions. She was like, she called Anakin Sky Guy. I mean, it was just So anyway, she starts off super irritating, and I've since read that that was on purpose. Like Dave Filoni made her intentionally irritating in the beginning, so she would like as she endears herself to
Has a
Anakin,
redemption arc, basically.
Yeah, as she endears herself to Anakin, she's endearing herself to the public, and it worked. It totally did.
It does work. The problem is if you don't do it right, a lot of times people will just give up on the character before the redemption arc and just like write them off as being annoying forever. So you got to make sure people actually have the stick-to-itness to be around for the redemption.
So yeah, I watched Ahsoka kind of grow up. So I'd seen her all the way to the point where even the most recent Clone Wars, where she defeats Maul, and she really does become a pretty powerful Jedi in her own right. And she gets framed. I'm sure I don't know how much you research on, but she gets framed for murder or whatever. And it turns out it was another Jedi there, and it all turns out okay. It's like, oh yeah, the Jedi come because the Jedi kick her out initially.
Yeah, I was about to say she's not technically a Jedi, is she? Because she,
she gets kicked out of the Jedi Order because they think she's guilty, and then she clears her name, or her and Anakin clear her name, and they're like, oh well, whoops, sorry, come back. We didn't. We kicked you out prematurely. That's our bad. But come back.
After our review board looked over the paperwork, we have decided that we were in the bad.
Yeah. And she's just kind of like, no, like you guys kicked me out before you even had all the facts. You just for the sake of like saving face, you threw me out in the streets.
For her. Fuck them. I would have probably done the same thing. Really, honestly, I would have been like, dude, screw you guys.
And so she's like, there's something wrong with this organization. I gotta go. And so she leaves. And then Anakin's like, oh, she left me. It's like, no, man, she left them. You're a part of them. And
not for long.
But yeah, I mean, even she sees it as shown in the show, and even shown in the cartoon series and Rebels, she regrets that decision. Of course she does. And she sees that, yeah, she left the Jedi Order, but she also, like, Anakin really leaned on her and depended on her, and her abandoning the Order was abandoning him. And
I do like that line where Balin's like, are you going to abandon this like you abandoned your former master?
Yeah, that was good, bad guy.
Psychological warfare. Yeah. Yeah, again, I still really like Balin. Too bad that dude had to go and die in real life.
Yeah, that's a huge bummer.
Yeah, I mean, we might get an AI version of him in the future, but
yeah.
I mean,
I know
Anakin showing up at the end of the series, he didn't quite look right. Although people say there might be a reason for that. It could be fake Anakin. Ooh.
Well, I don't think so. I think it's actually like it's Anakin, and because it's the world between worlds where
anything can happen.
Easily explained. I think it's just bad CG. I mean, I
think so. They tried to de-age him a little bit.
Yeah, it like
mainly people are saying it could be a fake Anakin because the lightsaber is different on the character. Apparently, the lightsaber is entirely black instead of being silver. Ooh. Yeah, I know. It could just been like, hey, grab a prop out of the bin and meet us on stage.
I think that's stretching. That's really stretching. Because I've kind of pulled back from that stuff ever since it was the WandaVision show that made me start going, okay, we need to start like we can't be looking at every little thing.
We got to realize writers are fallible and they're not always looking ahead 4,000 steps.
I mean, let's be real. Like what happened at that show was not cool, and everyone's like, "Oh, Mephisto," and da da da. Now looking in the future, we're looking back, like Mephisto wasn't even like mentioned, and like, oh, this is the sign the world's coming together. No, it was a dick joke.
It really was not even really a good dick joke either. That's the sad part. If it was a good dick joke, I would have been more for it. But yeah,
it's like Bohner. That was it.
Yeah, it does. But like in the first episode, when they Balin and what's her butt first board the ship. My first thought too was like, if I was that captain, I'd be very doubtful of there being a lot of Jedi around too. Be like, that's probably not a Jedi.
Well, that was
especially after I think it was like Andor was I think it was Andor where they had the fake Jedi who's like pretending to be a Jedi. Yeah, I mean that's got to be a pretty big scam post Empire.
What? Oh yeah, no, that was Obi-Wan.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
On that Andor, like there wasn't even a mention of Jedi. Really.
No, there really wasn't. Yeah, Andor was just the first one popped in my head. I wasn't that big on Obi-Wan. It was okay. I just wish they didn't shoehorn Princess Leia in there. Fuck that. That was dumb.
I desperately wanted to like that show. I mean, I really, really would like that. And there are some scenes that I think are really cool. Like I think the final confrontation between him and Vader was pretty cool. It could have done better, yeah, sure, but I think it was fine.
Princess Leia escaped wearing a trench coat, like two kids in a trench coat.
Dude, just so dumb. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and criticize the whole thing because that could be another like a whole show by itself of us bitching about Obi-Wan. But that was just so dumb. And I'm just gonna leave it there. It was so dumb.
Yeah.
I'm trying to bite back the urge to like continue down
the
path.
bitter bile just to flow through.
It was just
spew forth the bile, Nathan. Spew it forth.
Stupid decisions on that show.
Oh, and that first scene, the captain of that ship that got shot in the face by his own gun. He was actually one of the Marines in the original Aliens movie. Aliens, not Aliens.
Yeah, sure was. Yep.
Yeah. You actually recognize him. Neat. I had no clue. I was just like, hey, that's a dude. And then I was watching one of those spoiler recaps and like, hey.
But I liked how they did. And I don't know, man. I'm not a fan of the Apprentice so far. Now, I don't give a crap on the gender thing. I'm not talking about that. It's just she seems too doe-eyed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a little incompetent, to be honest with you. I don't mean to
I mean, she is a Padawan and assistant. She does have that little braid thing going too, saying that she's being raised in the Jedi method.
I mean, I guess, but like, look, Sabine, like, skipping to the end of the episode. First of all, I'm annoyed they're trying to make Sabine into a Jedi. That's my opinion.
No, they're not trying. They're going to eventually.
And I mean, but here's the thing: like, I keep on saying, like, the synopsis I was watching, they're like, George Lucas says everyone has the Force, so everyone can use the Force. The midichlorians are basically just like, it's like someone. It's an indicator. Well, it's an indicator. Like the midichlorians are a way of telling who's going to be powerful in the Force by like, oh, this just means that they're predisposed for that. But even if they have low midichlorians, they can still have access to the Force. It just takes a lot more work to get there. Okay, fine. But like, first of all, she's starting this whole Jedi training thing even after, I mean, she must be in her 20s. Yeah, let's assume she's in her 20s.
I think she's supposed to be like late 20s, maybe 30.
Late 20s. Like that's insanely, like, they were complaining about. First of all, they complained Anakin when he was like, oh, he's too old. He was 9. And then Luke is too old. He was like 19. And so, but he was able to train. But again, both those people were jam packed full of midichlorians. And now, by the way, I still think midichlorians are stupid. But this is the world. This is the world they live in. So here we go. And then all of a sudden they're introducing someone who's even 10 years more than that and has no midichlorians to speak of. And it's like she's a Mandalorian. Lean on that. She doesn't have to. Why are we trying to make her a Jedi too?
Because this way, all the people who grew up with the original prequels can be like, "Hey, I'm old enough to still be a Jedi if I want to. I'm not past that age." And I mean, honestly, that's just a stab in the dark. It might be right though.
I mean, but she has no Force, so why didn't like the what's her face, his evil apprentice? She just walked in and just Force choke her, put like Force blast, Force push her against the wall 3 times, and then stab her.
That fight was kind of lame right there because it felt like she could have done a much better job.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's like, I don't know, like, yeah, she's an apprentice, but I think even.
Oh yeah, and that whole training sequence between Ahsoka and the gal.
Was that on the second episode, I think?
Yeah, that was on the second episode, but still, that drug on way too long, I felt like, or was way too slow. They need to go and watch Samurai Jack, because that show perfected training montages back in the early 2000s. Because, I don't know, we don't need, like, every single frame of a training montage. We can just, like, break it down a little bit faster than they did.
Yeah, I'm talking
about the blind training part I'm talking about with Ahsoka.
Oh, no, yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, because, I don't know, that just felt like it went on forever.
It really did.
They could have cut off probably about 2 minutes of it. Like I said, just do the Samurai Jack thing where it's like splash screen, splash screen, splash screen. She's better. Yay.
Well, I think they were also going for slower, though. I mean, I think the slow was the point. They're like, oh, here we are, in this thing. And they have this old robot or android. And he's
David Tennant bot?
Yeah. I mean, and you know what? Fine. He is actually like canon. He was in the show. He apparently is one of the oldest robots. He's like hundreds of years old. So he's been
thousands, I
Jedi.
think, even.
So he's been training Jedi for forever. It
looks like he's been designed by Terry Gilliam too. I don't know why I thought that, but I saw him and I was like, that's a Terry Gilliam robot.
Yeah, it does look like that. But he's fine. But why are all the baddies so far I mean, I know they're aiming for like, they're going for Disney Plus, so they don't want to be cutting heads off of people. But I mean, why are they leaning so hard on robots or androids? Just seems like all the baddies they are fighting so far have been androids. Even the first
because you can kill androids wholesale and people don't feel bad. That's my guess again.
You're probably right. You are probably right. And I know it's one thing.
And yes, I'm well aware we blew up a whole Death Star worth of people repeatedly. But
that was like implied. They implied that.
Yeah, those are faceless, nameless, CGI characters in the background, quote unquote CGI characters.
But like again, though, going back to the Clone Wars, which kind of birthed all this, where Ahsoka came from, Clone Wars was not shy about killing people. They kill people all the time, in very like harsh ways. I mean, they did not shy away from that. It broke necks. People, they died on screen a lot, and so I know like human people's different animation, but.
Yeah, and one scene that a lot of people are kind of bitching about that I kind of agree with, sort of stupid, that has to do with the androids, is there is one scene where Sabine just like punches an android in the head and it's like, ow. It's like, I don't know if a human punching a robot in the head should really affect it. I mean,
right.
Well, I know we're going by Star Wars logic, but still.
Well, and also like that would hurt her hand.
Yeah, I feel like if you or I went up and punched a robot right in the face, it would hurt our hands more than the robot. The robot would just be like, that was pointless.
Significantly so.
Yeah, but in that show, apparently you can punch a robot in the head and it's like, ow, stop that.
And let's go back to episode 1 again, because we're kind of drifting. But
yeah,
why is it? Why do these ancient civilizations rely on Resident Evil like thinking? Like, oh,
for the puzzles and everything.
Yeah, we're gonna hide this super important map in a globe and then put it in this room that you need to like do this. And by the way, once you do this, that it destroys the podium it was on. And it's like
that room screamed Fifth Element to me, to be honest.
Yeah, that too.
It really did. It was just like, oh, that's, and also too, when they do like that sky thing where they're looking at the sky map, that screamed of Skyrim, selecting your character and leveling up.
Was that space lane so important? And if it was, why was it hidden? They're like, there's a space lane to go in this specific galaxy far, far away. We need specific coordinates, because of course you do, because the galaxies are really far apart. There's a lot of dead space. If you miss even by a slight margin, you'll miss it, and you might. There's a very real possibility you can travel in dark space forever. So I get it,
or possibly travel through time using it.
Possibly.
I actually have a theory about where this series is going. It's a long shot, but it's a theory.
And so they have this super important globe, and it has to be taken to another planet somewhere else. So it's not even on the same planet. You have to go somewhere else, a different system, and from that system you have to go just like certain setting of stones, and only from there, if you have use magic, because that's what she is. She's a witch, so you have to use like the witch Scythy magic type thing, and to even look at it. And it's just, that's so complicated for something that's like math.
Yeah. And also, I was looking at that little orb where she's like, hey, we got to solve the puzzle on this little orb. It seems like with, a little bit of time, anybody could have figured out that quote unquote Rubik's Cube of a puzzle.
Yeah, it was not hard. It wasn't. I mean, you twisted it into a certain way, and there was no real consequences if you got it wrong.
Right? There's only so many ways you could twist it. And once they twist up, all the lines like lined up perfectly. It's like, well, duh.
Yeah. I mean, the only way it could have been better is if fucking Hellraiser came out when she did that.
That would have been amazing. I have such sights to show you. And instead of pins all over his head, little lightsabers.
Oh, that'd be dumb as shit.
Oh, I want to see that now. Cenobite Jedi, Cenobite Sith. Sithobites. There we go. That also too, going to the 4th episode, you think they're gonna do a callback to Indiana Jones where Ahsoka has like that orb burned onto her hand and she's like, hey, I can see this.
Maybe I can see that. I actually thought something like that too. She's like, she's screaming. I'm like, I thought the same thing. Are they gonna, is it burned into her hand now?
Yep. Yeah, which corny, but I mean, by the same token, not the corniest thing we've seen.
No, and because I mean, the reason why it worked in Indiana Jones was it made some sense. It
wouldn't really make sense with a globe that has 360 degrees of stuff you got to look at.
Yeah, that is a problem. where because on that thing in Indiana Jones, it was that one side.
Yeah, it was just a flat medallion.
And that was also the reason why they were digging the wrong spot, because they didn't have both sides, but they at least got somewhere close to the vicinity.
Oh, yeah. Back to the first episode, when that the droids blew up those ruins. Was that explosion just because those droids had such big bombs in them, or was that whole place just like rigged to blow?
It's implied that the robots did that. They used that, like they all knelt down, which I don't know
because
why.
That's a big fucking explosion for like 2 little bombs.
Yeah, and like why didn't she just kill the robots? And then and another thing is, if they sent those robots after her to kill her and take the thing, and even if they failed, they immediately went self-destruct mode. Now, obviously, they showed that thing's not invincible. It can be destroyed. I'm pretty sure that huge explosion would have destroyed it, which would have foiled their plans from the jump. Like if she had, like, let's say she got caught up in it and destroyed it, then Thrawn screwed anyway. Like their fail-safe plan screwed everybody. So I don't know what.
I mean, it did take that lightsaber a lot of effort to cut through that little orb, so it might have survived. Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, as someone who's sending your robots in there, would you want to rely on maybe?
Yeah. Maybe we could also blame this on the dude who set up the droids or something. They're like, just put in just enough explosives to kill her. And he's like, fuck that. I'm going to put in all I got, bitch. Yeah. We did a big explosion. Oh, real quick. The Force Witch. She is actually Bruce Lee's goddaughter.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Kind of neat.
That is neat.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really mean anything in the long or the short, but yeah.
I about going on to her, it is kind of annoying that she looks too human. For me, she looks too human. They have a slight little hint of a tattoo under her hairline, but if you look how they look in the cartoon, like they don't look human. They're humanoid, of course.
Yeah, maybe they're gonna make her like a half-cis witch or something. One that bred with a human.
Or just like, now that she gets there, she can take off this thing that makes her look normal.
Or maybe it's just all makeup or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something. I mean, and whatever.
Although she's doing a decent job. I like her in the role.
Oh, no, totally. She's doing a great job as the evil villain. I also want to make, I do want to point out, I like the series so far. I mean,
honestly, I have been enjoying it too. It's got its problems, but I like it better than a few of the other series they've done.
I realized as I was writing my notes down, I'm like, I'm writing down a lot of bitching, but no, I actually really did enjoy it.
Yeah, it could have been. This one actually has some of the better sword fights I've seen in action sequences, I feel like, of the Disney Plus. It's not as good as the movies, I feel, but it's got some of the better action scenes.
I mean, the creme de la creme of lightsaber battles are Anakin and Obi-Wan at the end of Revenge. And so that's it. It also kind of went too long, but that was like clearly like one of the better lightsaber duels. Aside from Obi-Wan killing Maul in one strike.
Yeah. And also one problem they have with the TV series is they shoot all of those in that big like virtual dome that they have. So, you're kind of limited in what you can do with the fight scenes a little bit, as opposed to, being out in a huge field or a grove.
That is limiting, but it's better than a blue screen.
Oh, it's way better than a blue screen. Totally better. Yeah, better for the actors too, because you can actually see stuff around you.
Yeah, it is a huge step up for the blue screen, but you're right, it's not as good as like actually going on location.
Yeah, I've seen blue and green screen acting, and that looks hard, to be honest. It's like, hey, pretend that's a giant hell beast over there and be scared, and you're just staring at like a dude with like a stick with a ball on the end and be like, rawr,
right.
Rawr.
Rawr, 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 rawr.
Yeah, rawr, rawr, rawr. Evil. Oh, what they got noticed in the first episode, Twi'leks. The what Ahsoka is?
Yep.
They all have different like tentacle style heads. Do you think they have like all sorts of racism on their planet depending on how your head tentacles are set up?
They absolutely do. There's a bunch of different colors.
Is there? Okay.
Oh yeah, there's green, there's red, there's blue, there's Oh
yeah, and some of them have them pulled forward,
purple.
And some of them have their head tentacles pulled back.
Yeah.
One's probably the sluttier version, I'm guessing, of the look.
So
they do actually have racism on their planet because of those colors. Neat.
Darth Malak. That. I mean, is it Malak? Just a sec.
Darth Rami Malak.
Talon. Darth Talon. She's a future Sith. So it's like, and it's not canon anymore because it takes place like who she fights is Luke Skywalker's grandson. So it's it's supposed to take place in the future. But she's red, and she's red, and of course she has like a leather bikini top, and she's all sexy looking because of course Twi'lek females are just generically they're all supposed to be hot.
Yeah, they're supposed to be generic seductress.
Yeah, she's like red with tattoos all over. Not the same as Darth Maul, but same kind of thing. So, I mean, talk about Twi'leks. It annoyed. I don't know. Like, we don't look like animations, so you can't make it look dead on like the animation from the cartoon. But I'm not a huge fan of how she looks. I think her face is too small for her. I think that her.
You're talking about Ahsoka?
No, I'm talking about
the pilot.
Pilot or the general.
Yeah, the one that's dressed like Launchpad McQuack.
Yeah, I don't know. Like her headpiece is too big for her face, and it bothers me.
Yeah, you're right. And also, I don't know. There's something about her clothes and her outfit is almost like too vibrantly colorful. It almost, I don't know, kind of stands out as like Technicolor looking. I don't know.
Yeah,
a lot of these costumes need to be dirtied just a hair or something, because they're trying to basically copy, the color scheme from the cartoon series, a little more bright and pastel-y, and I don't know, it doesn't work in some instances on this show.
And one thing I've noticed, she brought me to the point of like the Republic in general. One thing I do kind of appreciate, but it is kind of irritating, where Disney, or the Lucas film or whatever, like the general Star War, they are really pushing for the Republic to be incompetent. Because you go from the Obi-Wan series where there's the Obi-Wan series, they didn't really touch on it too much, but in the most recent like Mandalorian, like they're making him look almost so incompetent they're evil. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're
like the fact in this show they're all wearing red and one of them stands up and screams for the Empire before doing anything. That kind of
no, not that guy. I mean, I'm talking about like the Republic.
Oh, the Republic. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Where they're just like, oh, we're not going to waste any resources sending people out there, and I'm like, how much resources like to send out a few ships? Like, what are you talking about? Like, no one's talking about launching a full-on military campaign where you're sending 1,000 ships out there. They're talking about sending out a small contingent of people to see what's up in a thing. And they're like, well, we don't want to cause any problems.
Isn't that also supposed to be part of like the mystery of, are they part of the Empire, helping the Empire reform? Because, they are really hammering home hey, people from the Empire work at all levels here. So who could be a good guy or a bad guy?
Well, true, but they are really, really leaning on the incompetency of him, even the lowest level. Like, she's like, oh, I'm leaving. That one guy's like, you can't leave. And she's like, well, I'm gonna. He's like, well, what am I supposed to say to these people? There's a meeting. She's like, I don't know. Tell them something. He's like,
is that when they drug out that one poor dude? Is like, entertain them.
Yeah, it's just like, what are you trying to say? Like so we all agree the Empire is bad, but just going off of Andor, while they were bad, they had the bureaucracy nailed down. They like all the evil. That was one of the evil things about them, is they were so good with the bureaucracy. Yeah, sometimes they were a little heavy-handed. Oh, there's a pickpocket stole some money from this bank. Let's destroy the whole fucking city. Okay, maybe rein it in a little bit. But in terms of just like the Republic, we're like, oh, the pickpocket stole something. Oh, let's pretend like it didn't happen. I mean,
yeah. And they just let that general walk all over them. She's just like, I'm going to do what I want. I feel like even if you're a general, there's still going to be like some sort of checks and balances you and attacked. Sort of like that scene where she walks in. She's like, I need to see the paperwork on all these engines you're building. He's like, I can't do that. And she's like, I'm a general. He's like, okay. I feel like if you're really a bad guy, like trying to cover up, there's ways you can like bureaucracy your way out of that.
Well, there's a million ways they could have covered that up. I mean, just a million things you could have done. Like, I want to see your files. Well, it's a computer. You can have two different sets of files. One for the Republic and one for.
That's why I was thinking you were talking about the Empire being fucking idiotic or incompetent, because they kind of are in this show sometimes too. Outside of like a few core people, it's like, hey, have you noticed any weird droids? And also that one Empire droid is just like, yeah, I saw a hunter killer droid a few minutes ago. Why would you program to do that?
Yeah, it's like, what do you do? Like, come on, man.
Like, and then one dude's just like, for the Empire, and shoots the gun. I mean, there's a trillion other ways you could have handled that, guys. Literally just be like, hey, we'll get you your paperwork. Go back to the lounge, have some, poisoned tea, and we'll bring you the paperwork in an hour. All right.
And I mean, they're also leaning really hard on like, oh, we have all these former Imperials where we made them, pinky swear that they're not going to do bad anymore, so we're good. And I mean, I totally get it. Like, it's the same thing even nowadays when you go and take over, like when America goes over and take over country.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just because they worked in the Iraqi government doesn't mean you can throw them in jail automatically, because a lot of them are just there for a fucking job.
Exactly. Like they needed to feed their family. They came in and they worked. And so, I mean, yeah, what they were doing was probably horrific, but they worked. And
Yeah, sometimes they don't even know what they're doing too. It's just like, hey, man, I just fill out paperwork all day in an office.
Yeah, I mean, I did ones and zeros. What do you want me to do?
Granted, I was working for the bad guys, but I was literally in my cubicle doing stuff. I wasn't out shooting people. I was just like, okay, well, we got to lot this much grain this week. I mean,
I went to work, I clocked in, I data entried, and then I left.
Well, do you know what you're entering data on? It's like, I have no fucking clue, dude. It's numbers.
I'm a 50-pound Ugnaught. What am I going to do against a battalion of stormtroopers led by a giant 6-foot black dude in armor, like with a sword who can kill me from a distance? Like, he could kill me without even looking in my direction.
I know. It's like,
wow, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, I am out of my lane here. I'm good.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really frustrating. And then, like in the Rebels, they show what they even go and sabotage. Like if Thrawn was in charge, I mean, there was a whole episode where he went in to his factory and he's just like, okay, there's more accents coming out of this factory than any other. Going forward, anything you make, you have to test personally before it goes out. And that's a good way to stop sabotage. If you're good, even if you do sabotage something, it's probably going to blow up on you, killing you. So it's, I mean, one thing about Admiral Thrawn, though, that I'm actually really looking forward to him coming back is, of all the villains out there, Darth Vader had his, he was smart, but he was also like very brutal, and he's more cunning than anything else. It just, I mean, cunning, never mind, pull that back. He was smart, but he was just very brutal in his way. He was a blunt object, and the Palpatine was a lot more cunning and used his brain, and that's how he got in charge of everything. And Thrawn's like him. Thrawn is super cunning. He
stare at the art and be like, I know everything about you now.
Yeah, that's exactly what.
Well, that's terrifying.
And it's just, I don't know. I really hope they lean that on. They don't dumb him down.
That's what I'm terrified of, is because they're already making so much of the Empire seem like dumb incompetence that literally Thrawn just has to have like a room temperature IQ, and you'll seem smarter than most of them.
Well, and also, like, I don't know what they're talking about leaning on, like, particularly the Jedi going, oh, we're going to get this guy, he's super powerful. Like, no, he was a brilliant military mind. He was cunning as hell. He was formidable physically, as long as you had force powers. I mean, there was a lot of, he is by far, like, a very formidable enemy. But he wasn't magic. I mean, that was the whole thing. Like, in the books, even in the books, like he found a way around the force thing, but he found a creature that repelled the force, and he had that on his person at all times. I'm just really looking forward to seeing what they do with it.
I think it's going to come out pretty cool. And also, isn't Mads Mikkelsen is playing him, isn't he? Yeah, he's a good actor.
Yeah, he's the guy who voiced him in the cartoon.
Yeah, looks pretty good as him too, kind of. I mean, as good as you can make somebody who's blue look. Yeah, I mean,
I am excited that they, I don't know, like, I just kind of wish they got someone a little more, I don't know. He looks fine. I mean, he's fine. I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting someone, because honestly, the biggest thing is his face. He's not muscular. He doesn't really, his body, it's like, I was wanting someone whose face is a lot more, like, chiseled. That's dumb.
Yeah,
I mean, I realize.
Or a little more weathered or something, maybe, or I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, he looks fine. Again, he looks fine. We'll see how he looks. I've seen, like, small snippets.
And we haven't actually seen him like talking or in motion, really. Just like
the small snippet I've seen, I haven't been too thrilled with, but I'm a reserve my judgment.
Yeah. Hey, those little cat things with the bird feet in this show? Don't they kind of remind you of Sam from Sam and Max? Just a little bit. I think it's the big toothy grin they have. You remember Sam and Max from back in the day?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm guessing no, they don't remind you of that a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact they're white with a big toothy smile. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They have names like something cats, but whatever.
Oh, lol cats or something like that. It's
something like cats.
That. I keep on doing like LOL cats, but I don't think it's quite that.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess we're kind of skipping all around. What do you think
I kind of am, because I realized also my notes started off taking them pretty good with episode 1, and then they just kind of went all over the place because I was like,
I mean, and there's some things we don't really need to talk about. Like the space battle was kind of like whatever.
I thought that one was dumb where she's fighting on the wings of the thing, and
they've done that before. They've done that a few times.
I know. Honestly, one, it does come across better in cartoons, kind of. But two, here's the thing: she's standing on a plane. Shoot the plane. Don't shoot her.
I was gonna say that.
I mean, for the love of fucking God, she's flipping around. Okay, don't shoot her. Shoot the thing that's still. You blow that up, she's just gonna float away, and then you ain't got to deal with it.
Then just leave her alone.
Yeah.
But then,
and also, I think the scene that's really stupid is where she's like floating along, and you hear her yell out, "Have you got it working yet?" or something like that. It's just like, I don't know. It looked more cheesy or corny than did dramatic.
I mean, one thing people kind of pointed out was also like Star Killer, but Star Killer was just he was much more badass. But Star Killer actually grabbed spaceships out of the air, and I don't know, he made a Star Destroyer crash, so he was insanely. I'm not expecting that from these people on the show. But like, why didn't she throw
they
a
had
lightsaber?
Darth Vader do it, but
why didn't she throw her lightsaber? Throw the lightsaber, guide it with the Force, cut off.
That's a good point. Yeah,
there were like other things you could have done. But like again, we're nitpicking. Overall, I wasn't a huge fan how that went down. But they needed to get to the planet's surface, fine. But then, of course, we stumble into the whole Star Wars thing about it. They crash land on a planet, but they don't know where they're going. They don't exactly, if I remember correctly, they don't exactly know where they're supposed to be going for this thing. Like, it's a whole planet. Like, imagine, Shaun, if our spaceship crashed in the middle of Italy. Okay, so we crashed in the middle of Italy. Now we got to fix that thing. But, oh, wait, the giant map thingy is in Arizona. Now what? It's not like we can run there. I mean, I know that they have Jedi super speed, but Sabine doesn't.
Yeah, this is true.
So again, this is just kind of like suspension of disbelief, and that's fine. I mean, that's fine. That's just a Star Wars thing. They've always done it.
Yeah, and also, like I've heard before, Star Wars is written for 12-year-olds typically. I mean, whether you want to admit it or not, it's not necessarily written for adults who are going to pick everything apart. But it's more written for people who are like, hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, also too, speaking of like rampant speculation, what was his name? Merrick, the Dark Souls looking droid that showed up.
Yeah.
The guy with the little spinny blade. Before episode 4, there was a lot of talk about who he could be. People even thought he was going to be Darth Maul, it turns out.
Yeah, I remember that. And
people were like, it's a reanimated Darth Maul. And then also, my first thought when I saw him was like, he looks just like a Dark Souls bad guy. And then he gets killed and like steam or smoke goes blaring out of me. Like, he dies just like a Dark Souls bad guy.
Well, he died like that. And then he had all that stuff come out of him. And it was...
because he was reanimated by the sisters, wasn't it? Kind of thing.
Yeah, at first I thought he was made of smoke, which I thought was stupid.
That's what I thought at first too, and I thought it was really dumb. And then, but yeah, apparently when they reanimate people, they use smoke or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's the issue I had. One of the biggest issues I had was why. It's just, I have several things like, okay, they brought out an Inquisitor, and it didn't have to be a named person, but they gave him a name and they did all this other stuff, and he better be somebody. He's not going to be. Well,
or at least do something interesting before he dies. Because
nope, you know what? Now I think about it, he's gone because he got killed on the planet and they took off.
Yep.
So
he was expendable. They did not care.
Yeah, unless they come back specifically to pick up that body, he's done. And so they didn't.
I don't think they will.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to. Even if he was like, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's Star Killer," but I do think he voiced it. Like someone pointed out on one of the little synopsis thing, they're like, "It sounds like him." I think it's right, but I mean, but they like Sam Witwer. They like that guy, so
they want him everywhere if they could have him.
Oh yeah, he's been a huge Star Wars fan. He's been one of their biggest like proponents of Star Wars. They really do enjoy having him on, so I can see them bringing on just like, hey, we've got this guy. He needs a voice. He's a nobody. He's on here a couple episodes. You're going to say mainly 5 lines, and then you go home. It's a paycheck. So I bet you that's what happened. And you know what? Fine, good on him. That's totally great. It's just it's the boner thing. Oh, who's it gonna be? Woo!
Yeah,
it's nobody. He dies in 5 seconds. Don't worry about it. Don't think of it.
And that's the end of that. Don't think any more about it in the future. Certainly do not go online and discuss your dissatisfaction. Oh, here's a quick fun fact. One of the pilots in episode 4, when they're flying to go check out the planet and rescue what's her butt, Ahsoka. One of those pilots is actually played by Brendan Wayne, John Wayne's grandson.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So yeah, Brendan Wayne, John Wayne's grandson. Now there's a thing Not that it really matters in one way or another, but yeah.
Well, one thing that it's I don't know, that kid, that kid is just why. I mean, I don't know,
the Twi'leks kid.
Yeah, kid? I would assume.
Honest to God, when I first saw him, I thought he was Boba Fett. He looked like the little kid Boba Fett from the prequels. I think it's the hair or something. Bit. Yeah, a little bit. And one moment I'm like, why are they riding around with kid Boba Fett? And then it clicked in my head. I'm like, oh.
I vaguely remember hearing that Twi'leks, when they would mate with other races or other things, it would always be a Twi'lek. That being said, though, I don't know where I got that from, because when I did a Google search and Wikipedia took me there, it didn't say anything about that.
Probably from some of your homemade
I'm not sure where it came from.
Porn.
Right. I'm not sure where it came from. That's
from your deepest, darkest fantasies, Nathan.
Well, and I also could be mixing it with Mass Effect, because that's how those, the blue chicks. That's how that happened.
Oh, that's right. I remember that with the blue chicks.
They're only born
they were very
female.
Twilight.
Yeah, they're only born female, and they mate with anybody. And
wait, are there male Twi'leks too? Because I don't know if I've ever seen one.
There's a bunch of them. No, you know of one. You know what? I can tell you one right off the top of your head. No, I'll give you a hint. Jabba's palace.
The one dancing was a dude? Oh man, I've got a lot of soul searching to do.
No, who was Jabba's right hand?
Salacious. Oh, that dude. Okay. Oh, he's a Twi'lek.
Yeah, he's
really?
Twi'lek. Yeah.
Oh, he's just got Babe Fortuna with his big neck thing.
Really?
Yep. Oh, yep. I always thought that. I guess it does grow out the back of his head, huh?
Yep.
He's just got one Twi'lek. Yeah, he's just a one tuber or whatever.
Well, there's a bunch of different, they come in all different shapes and sizes.
Well, that's why I'm saying their planet has to be hella racist too if they come in all those shapes and sizes.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, either that or not. I mean, it's I don't know. It's
we know how. I guess we're basing things off of humans. So,
well, they're also. I think they're implied they're created, and they didn't they're a created race, and so and they're also subservient. So they were a slave race forever. And so they more recently kind of came out, and the females are typically, because the default Twi'lek female are hot. So that's why a lot of the Twi'lek, that's when you see sex slaves in Star Wars, they're almost always Twi'leks.
Probably the occasional Ewok too, I'm guessing.
Oh, it has to be.
Kind of my thing.
There's no way, there's not, someone out there who's get me an Ewok.
Yeah. Oh, in the Star Wars universe, there's some dude who's I'm not going to rest until I've stuck my dick in every possible race that exists in this universe. Even those giant whales, I'm going after one of them, buddy.
So going back to what do you think of the final confrontation? I was fine with it.
I liked it. Pretty bold of that one dude to assume you knock somebody off a cliff and they're done for, because
I've seen enough
movies where they come leaping right back instantly.
Well, that being said, I mean, the only thing I can think of maybe he dismissed it was because if she fell off and went to the world between worlds, then I assume that he couldn't feel her anymore. So he's well,
that's a good
gone.
point. Yeah.
Yeah. I struck her with my lightsaber. She fell off a cliff. I don't feel anymore. I think it's safe to say she's gone.
Yeah, I can buy that totally. That seems like a Balin thing to do. Again, I really like that character. He's a more badass Obi-Wan kind.
He is a pretty badass,
proper, and yeah.
And again, I love just how he. I liked how he deflected the bolts. I like how he fought. I mean, he was very
that recreation of the Darth Vader scene he did was really good.
Which is getting kind of old, okay.
Well, isn't this only the second time we've seen it though?
Third.
Oh, third. There was another one.
Luke Skywalker in the second season of Mandalorian.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah.
So I mean, it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine
because it's not a 1-to-1, so it's fine. But I just love how calculating it is, because he's not doing any fancy moves. He's not spinning and doing all this stuff. Even when he was fighting,
he's not sure. Again, he's just there to do a job. That's what I like about him. He's I'm not really. I'm neutral and evil. I'm just here to do my job and get out.
when he fought her, he made the most minimal movement he could do to block and strike. He was very just, and I think his lightsaber was longer, so it was almost like a long sword or a bastard sword, if you will.
Yeah, like a two-handed sword almost.
Yeah, I really enjoyed because with the size, he's fucking huge.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed that fight. Again, I kind of wish it was faster pace because again, everyone they think lightsaber battles, they think
flippy,
flippy.
Fights.
They think Anakin versus Obi-Wan. That's either that or Maul versus Obi-Wan in Qui-Gon.
Which I mean, those fights are fine too, but I think there's room for both of them in the universe.
Oh, yeah,
because they go into great detail, being like, there's 32 different ways to fight with a lightsaber, or all the different forms and stuff. So not all of them have to be fast, flippy.
Absolutely not. I just want at least to be cinematic. I want, and I know it's dumb. I'm reaching for the stars, but I want every lightsaber battle to be cinematic, which is why.
So you want more backflips and stuff, or
not just
more of how it's shot?
You know what? I'd be happy to see no backflips, but I want to see them going for it, not like strike, wait, strike, wait, strike.
Some of that might also be the fact they're doing it in that big vision dome kind of thing too.
Even you know what, you could still have that in a big vision dome. You could. I mean, even you could do it from a basement. I mean,
well, I mean, one thing you can't really do. Well, I guess you could put objects in the vision dome, but you can't really be like fighting in between trees or in like a warehouse dodging.
It would just take
stuff necessarily.
There have been plenty of Asian cinema where it's fast-paced, brutal sword fights that are cinematic, and you throw force powers in there. Then you can kind of look at anime too. Like there's some, and I get it. This is not anime; it's live action, but there are so many different ways you could have made it look better. It looked fine. It just I want it to look better, and that's where I cut back to the Sabine and the not Sith chick, where it's like. It could have been. Come on, just be better, both of you. And one of the things about I remember reading this way back in the day, and I think it was I saw this from KOTOR, the original Knights of the Republic. They're saying if you don't have force powers, you cannot use a lightsaber because if you do, the chances are extremely likely you're going to cut your own head off. So that's why they're like, unless you are a force user. Don't try now unless you're really skilled, like Boba Fett. He used the lightsaber several times in his in all of his career in comic books and video games and whatnot. And he's used a lightsaber, but he doesn't use that as a primary weapon. He uses oh shit, this person also has a lightsaber. I'm gonna use it to deflect his strikes, but I'm still gonna shoot his ass. I'm not trying to
you will notice too in the series that Sabine did much better when she was using her Mandalore weapons, and she really did suck when she was trying to use the lightsaber.
That's why I'm stick with it. You're good. You're a Mandalorian. Roll with it. Don't try to make yourself something you're not, because you're not a Jedi.
Just look so badass because you got the sword right there.
And why? I understand. We're sticking with the main character. We're sticking with all of them. We don't want to veer too far, introduce new characters, because we're rolling with the Rebel crew. Fine. But why didn't they bring in a new apprentice? They could they could have introduced someone else new. They could have grabbed another character, because the Star Wars universe is rife with characters you could have used. Sabine could have gone with them. They're like, oh hey, I'm going to go on this road. I'm your handy Mandalorian. You need a rocket shot. You need a laser shot. You need someone roped up. You need some dirty work done. You need some sabotage. I'm your fucking girl. But you have this Padawan we're rolling with that could also be, what? Just came to me. Why didn't they take the son of the girl, the green haired kid? Because they heavily implied at the end of the last episode he's force sensitive. He goes, I have a bad feeling about
this. Something weird.
Yeah, because he's a son of a Jedi. So of course he has force powers. There you go. Ta-da! There's your apprentice. He's rolling with Ahsoka, going out there. His mom's all worried about him, but she's like, go out there and learn stuff. And who has his back? Sabine. But nope, we're going to try to force Sabine to hold lightsaber.
Because they're going to make her into a Jedi eventually. They want to make her into a Jedi. Especially with that one line. There's one line people are going nuts over. It's the droid says, few Mandalorian have become Jedi. And people are assuming that means that there's multiple Mandalorian Jedis that we haven't heard about.
There is one, I can't remember his name because, as I mentioned, I have terrible names, and he's also not in canon anymore. But there was in the books, during the Clone Wars, one of the Jedis that ran around with the clones became Mandalorian, because in that series before everything went haywire, a Mandalorian was not a blood type, it was not a race, it was someone who took the creed.
Yeah, it's like a cult, basically.
Yeah, and he joined the cult, and he joined full-hearted, like he was all in, and so he actually became a Jedi, and to the point where they basically kind of used him to seek out other Force, not to hunt them down, but if someone rolled up and they were like a Force user or a Jedi, he can go, they're a Jedi or they're a Sith. He just, because he could feel it, and I don't know, I can't remember his name, but he was actually pretty in that book series, Republic Commando series. He was actually pretty badass.
Yeah, that's what I always heard. Is there's just that one Mandalorian that made it as a Jedi, but apparently people are saying that they're hinting towards there being multiple on this one, or it could just be people over analyzing the word few, because I mean one is also very few. So here's a dividing character: Chopper, the droid. Love him or hate him, and his sassiness.
Love him. Well, it's because here's the thing: it's not
because he puts his hands on his hips. Yeah, dude, that's sassiness. He put his hands on his hips and said, "Oh no, you don't," at one point or something like that.
He is sassy.
Or no, he said, "Oh yes, you did."
He is sassy. I'll give you that, but like, he's also he is a straight up cold blooded killer.
Oh yeah, he's a war criminal. I've heard him repeatedly referred to as a war criminal, killing multiple people.
Give an F. Like I think at one point they were all Imperial, but he straight up murdered 50,000 people, on a ship, and
just like Luke did on the Death Star.
If you listen to her talking, she's like, "Oh, if we shoot these ships down, they'll crash into the city." And he goes, "If you see the subtitles,
he's like, and that's a bad thing, or something like
so
that."
What? Like, yeah, so what? Fuck him.
Also, that droid is voiced by David Filoni as well.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I was not a Chopper. Whatever. Yeah, when I first saw, I was like, "Oh, just an R2D2 ripoff, whatever." But after watching him on Rebels, no man, like he's pretty hardcore.
I'm kind of torn on because I don't know him from Rebels. I just know him kind of being the overly sassy droid from this, who hasn't really done much to earn my love. But yeah, once I heard he was a war criminal, I kind of liked him a little.
Yeah, I will say that. Like, he has not in this show. He has not done enough.
He almost just seems more like he's there to sell toys in this series than he is to actually be a real character, kind of, because he's just there, sassy quip. Woo! Look, this droid's got little hands he can put on his hips and be like, burp, burp, burp.
I hope he does, like, something more happens with him, because he is
he like kills a whole bunch of younglings or something, didn't even have to.
Anakin, wait, what do you think?
Anakin at the end?
Yeah, I mean, never mind how he looked, because we already talked about how he looked. But like, just the fact that he's there.
I think it's actually going to be him. I kind of want it to be something else. I want it to be like a one of those like Force witches like fucking with her, but I have a feeling it's going to be Anakin. They're just going to have a heart to heart.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I want to listen to something. One of the synopsis, they're like, we'd be happy if they just like the whole 40 minutes was just them talking. And I'll be honest with you, I would like that too. I really do. I dig Anakin. He's one of my favorite characters. I like Darth Vader as well, but Anakin was great. And
you have to understand, Ahsoka, it's like sand. It gets everywhere.
Okay, let me rephrase. That Anakin, not so much. But Anakin of the Anakin from the Anakin. Sorry, no, totally. I'm with you, man. I appreciate it. I'm banging my chest on it. That's pretty cool. Yeah. But no, like the Anakin that was expanded from the shows. That's cheating. I understand.
After he got his redemption arc, quote unquote redemption.
Right. I mean, because they really did. Like in the episode 1, whatever, he was a kid. He was stupid. Episode 2, he was a whiny little bitch. In episode 3, he's kind of being more himself, but it was still, I don't know, like it wasn't enough to redeem the episode.
He still kind of died like a little bitch at the end. Still, there's like, I mean, the fight was cool and all that, but still,
Yeah, but in the series, the Clone Wars, they really fleshed out his character, and you can kind of see how he got to where he got. And so, based on the Clone Wars Anakin, I would really looking forward to seeing what happens. I think it is him, because I mean, there were so many different adventures he did, like during the Clone Wars and stuff like that. Although it doesn't make sense because Clone Wars didn't last like that long, but they went everywhere. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
It was only 2 years, but he has 8,000 separate adventures during that time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
it's fine. Whatever.
It's like, Like I was the funny thing about saw Wolverine way back in the day. I saw it was a Twisted Toy Fair where there's like Wolverine's like because he was at that point in every single comic. He was just like he like run around, do an adventure, come home, sleep for like a minute, and then get back again around the door.
He's like, well, I got to fly from Canada all the way to New York for Spider-Man. Then on Sunday, I got to go out to San Francisco.
It was exactly that. Yeah, it was exactly that. So
I remember that time period where it's like, hey, everybody loves Wolverine. We'll put him every fucking where.
Everything. There was nothing he was in.
Yeah. So, and it wasn't always consistent through all the comics either because everybody wrote him or drew him just a little differently. So sometimes you kind of got like weird out there kind of things.
Yeah. So anyway, I really hope it. I think it is him. I honestly do think it's him. I hope that the CG is a little bit better next time. Maybe like I don't know if they can do last minute fixes, but they need to do what they did with Luke. Like, okay, de-age him's fine, but you just need to redo his fucking face. I mean, at this point, because the de-aging thing isn't quite there yet. Because even when he showed up on Obi-Wan, he looked pretty good, but he didn't look great. You can still tell like that's not 20-something-year-old Anakin. That's like that's a 40-something-year-old Anakin with some filter slapped on.
Yeah, some of that de-aging doesn't work that good. Did you see that one clip? It was a mobster movie where they de-aged Robert De Niro down to like his 30s.
I saw that. He still looked the same. He did. I didn't see the difference.
But they had that scene where he like stomps a dude in the streets, and it's literally like a 75-year-old man trying to put the boots to somebody, and it's just the most awkward looking thing you've ever seen. I mean, it is bad. Have you seen that actual scene though?
I've seen the movie.
Okay,
I can't remember that scene, but I've seen the movie.
I'll send it to you later. It's it's bad. Okay, my last couple little plots here. When Ahsoka falls down on that little path, talking to Anakin, we're talking about, I have this bad feeling they're gonna make a mobile running game out of that because that's exactly what it looked like to me. It's like, hey, start running down this road and jump over things now and then. Swipe your lightsaber to Force Ghost. Remember those running mobile games on your phone back in the day? Yeah. As soon as you land on them, like that looks like one of those things. That or the Dragon Ball Z Highway to Hell thing that.
Right. I can't remember. I can't remember the name of it, but like the snake path. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think that's what it was. Snake Road.
Snake Road. That's
and
what
finally, I have a way out there theory where this whole series is going, and you'll probably laugh at it, but I base this off the fact they referenced a few times. They've been like, "Hey, Admiral Thrawn, he's somewhere in time and space," and they also bring up these these gates a lot. Remember last time we saw all these like time space gates in Star Wars? Knights of the Old Republic. I think this series might take us back to the Old Republic for a little bit and possibly even set up a series back then. I have a feeling they're going to be like, hey, Thrawn's back in time as well as being across the universe. So we might actually get them pop back, set up the Old Republic, few characters, pop back to the normal time, and then, maybe have a spin-off Old Republic series.
That would be actually pretty interesting. I mean,
because they have to bring the Old Republic to Star Wars. They have to eventually.
They're going to. I think they're going to do that in a separate series. I don't think they'll do it on this one.
I don't think they're going to I think they're just going to basically touch on the fact, hey, there is an Old Republic in this series. They're not really going to do much with it. Be like, hey, there's an Old Republic. Oh, wow, we should come back and visit that someday. And then 2 years from now, there'll be a series coming out.
I mean, if they did Knights of the Republic, the thing is that was 10,000 years before all this happened. So you can do whatever you wanted. Yeah, it doesn't matter. At that point, there's no canon holding you down. But I think I don't know. They feel they need somebody from the modern era to go back and touch back. That way, they can, we can have Ahsoka go around and be like, oh, these are obviously the good guys and obviously the bad guys, and set up the whole scene because not everybody knows about the Old Republic. True.
Yeah. Also, they even reference some of the Old Republic races in this too. God, what was the one? The Rakutans. They actually reference in this and in Andor.
Oh yeah, they were the ones who made the Starforge, right?
Yes. Yeah, Andor, they actually even brought it up too. It's one of the little gems that what's his butt Andor got from the storekeep. So yeah, I mean, I'm probably wrong, but I have a feeling they'll use this as a bridge to bring up hey, there's an Old Republic that exists that we'll go visit again. I don't have any wild theories like that. I just think it's going to be if that is actually him, they can't change time, but it could be one of those things where he was like, oh yeah, I'm here, but when I leave here, I'm gonna forget everything because of course he has to. I don't know how to explain it, or it's a different version of him, or I think what they're going to do is they're going to be like, hey, when Darth Vader took over, the good part of me died. This is a good part of me in Force, and he's going to give her a 5-second pep speech, and then that's going to be the end of it. It's going to at the tail end of it, nothing interesting. Hopefully it's something because the music actually kind of did a little Vader Yeah, people are all saying that's why he might be the bad guy in the thing, but I don't know. I just have the feeling he's going to be like, you have to keep pushing. You have to keep going, Ahsoka, for all of us. And that's going to be the end of it. She's going to wake up like floating on a river.
Yeah, or she's actually doing this whole thing where like she feels bad for leaving him, so she's gonna like reassure.
Yeah, and this will be her redemption thing, and then they'll have this whole thing. Did she really talk to him, or was it just her emotion? I don't know. I would like it to be something interesting and exciting, but I just have a feeling it's just going to be like, hey, here's your rah speech. You just got your ass kicked, but you can't stay down. And she'll be like, I've gotten this speech a million times.
We've been scarred by Bohner.
Yeah, we have. We got scarred up boners now. Thanks to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Damn you, Marvel.
Also, do you think there's going to be a moment where Sabine has to fight blinded? Like Zatoichi, which they referenced? Because they do put a blind helmet on her. And you think that's going to be kind of one of those 20 foreshadowing? I kind of hope not, because that's like too obvious a foreshadowing.
That's too like regular Star Wars. Like that's just what they do. Like it happened with Luke. All of a sudden, they do it like
Balin's like solar flare, and she's like, "Oh God, I can't see."
Yeah, I mean they did that with the Rebel series. Like that guy got blinded at one point. I mean, it's generic. Like part of the training to be a Jedi is putting that stupid thing on where you can't see. So I don't.
One of the recaps I saw showed that scene from the prequels where it's all the little kids training with the.
I flashed that.
God, that scene's so bad looking.
Yeah,
I mean it's just bad looking. Then again, it's hard to direct kids, so whatever. Yeah, right. Thinking back to that fucking Ewoks actress girl.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Just give up. Do something else.
Yeah. Just read these lines after me. Repeat after me. So I got my theory. We're going to go to the Old Republic eventually. Because, I mean, this fact they bring up time and space so often. Also, I did like the part where they hyperspace through all the people and killed a bunch of them. That was kind of... Because I was wondering what happened if you hyperspace and just like went through somebody. Because
that was pretty sweet. I'm glad they did that. I thought honestly they were gonna kill them all, but of course they couldn't because there were so many main characters in there.
Yeah, a couple of them died. But
the ones you never saw before until just now.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's like the two that we see all the time, which makes me think there's only like a dozen X-wing pilots in the entire fucking galaxy.
There's
I feel like we're just seeing like the same guys resorted. It's like, hey, that Asian dude and Porkins are like the only ones around.
Yeah, well, it was like, okay, here's a big giant ship with two of the main characters, and there's another guy in an X-wing who has been in several episodes of Mandalorian, so he's not.
And then there's these two guys we've never seen before. Which ones are going to die on a very special episode?
Yeah, don't even bother learning their names. It's just
right. And this one jet, we got Luke Perry, and this other one, we've got some person we've never seen before. Who's going to live?
It's the best friend of the DJ. What happened?
Good times.
Good times.
All right, so I think we talked enough about this, and
I'm really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm looking forward to talking about like what's all said and done about talking about then.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it. It's good. A lot of people bitch about it.
A lot, but it's my thing. It's not as good as Andor, but significantly better than Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I think it's better than Mandalorian, or not Mandalorian, but Book of Boba Fett.
Oh Jesus, beat that one too.
Yeah, Book of Boba Fett could have been good if they'd like edited differently or something. I don't know.
No, it needed more than that. It needed better writing. It needed better action. It needed better writing, honestly, because again with
it's like riding a panther.
Yeah.
It
just needed better writing. It needed like a plot. They should have changed the timing of the whole fucking thing. There was no reason for him to be in the back to tank doing flashbacks. There's none of that. Like, nope. They should have just episode 1. He wakes up, he's outside the Sarlacc pit, and then he gets picked up by the Sand people, and then he comes back and he does this thing, and then the people all get killed, and then he goes look for his armor. And I mean, there's no reason to keep on doing the flashbacks. It was dumb. Yeah. There was no revelation.
The way you're reading it out now, it almost seems like it would have been better as a written short story than a fucking 5-episode TV series.
Or like the whole thing like could have been done in one episode. Like they could have summed up almost the entire thing in one episode and then gone from there. Like okay, now he's in. They shouldn't have saddled him. Like he's like, oh, I'm gonna be a boss now of the city. Okay, well, once he did that, he was saddled. Because part of the thing about Boba Fett, one of the reasons why people love Boba Fett is the fact that he's this like galaxy crossing bounty hunter.
Yeah, it would have been better if they set him up almost like as a This is a very bad example, but like a Star Wars Cowboy Bebop, where he just goes around the galaxy doing odd jobs for money, good jobs, bad jobs.
Or like they could have gone like, oh yeah, well, I don't know, a rogue clone with a clone aliens is looking for him because he has unaltered DNA from Jango Fett, and so he worked out so well. They wanted to get him to make more clones. They can't really use the old clones because because they can't use the old clone because they were genetically altered, and they were also their aging was sped up. So they're like too tampered with. They need another pure source, and because he is a direct clone of Jango, they need him. So they start sending people after him. He has to find out who's the person who's fighting, and so there's a big battle. Like he's hunted while he's hunting someone else. There, I just made that up right now.
Yeah, that actually sounds a lot better. I like the part where it's like him doing the bounties with somebody hunting him at the same time.
Yeah, but nope.
It sounds like Samurai Champloo kind of thing almost.
Yeah, anyway. And so we're gonna plop him in the middle of a city where he's the leader now, and then he's got to deal with that bullshit. And
I mean, honestly, they could have done that in a cool way, but they didn't.
Nope.
If they made him more like
think of a cool way to do that, but I thought
if they made him like a seedy, underbelly ruler, if they turned him into like the kingpin of that town or something, then instead of him just being like, hey, I'm going to be a good guy from now on,
right? And then
or strictly good guy.
Then take some of your Disney money and hire actors. Like when Jabba was there, he had his palace was always full of people because they're always full of people.
That's the way palaces are. They're full of people. When you own a palace, you want people there. They're your subjects, basically. Or you're just throwing badass parties.
So I don't know, man. It's just anyway. We once again veered off Ahsoka.
Yeah, well, at least we stayed in the Star Wars universe. We didn't go straight to the Punisher.
True.
Yeah. Although Punisher is owned by Marvel, and Marvel's owned by Disney too, so
yay.
Yes, soon everything will be Disney. Go to your Disney.
It's like part of me is like, yay. The other part of me is like, oh, that's actually really bad.
Yeah, right.
Because I always like the idea of like when they like, oh, X-Men's gonna be Marvel now, like or X-Men's gonna be Disney now, yay, they can all be together. And as a comic nerd, yay! But then as someone who realizes, oh wait, all of my media being in the hands of one company, that's actually not good.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It'll be like if Disney buys DC, and also we're just like, yay, crossovers. Oh wait a minute, this isn't good. This isn't good at all. Yeah, it's sort of like when Microsoft buys up all those game companies. You're like, is this bad? Is this good? Feels more bad than good.
Yeah, it does feel more bad than good.
All right, well, you go feed yourself and your kin, and we are good. No,
yes. So. And wait, you gotta say goodbye.
Yes.
Oh shit.
So we'll be back in 4 weeks to talk about the end of Ahsoka and what we thought of the entire series in whole. See how close we were on our predictions that we made, and
we'll be back before then. You look forward to it. Are we doing this or posting this like ASAP?
I was going to post it on Tuesday, I think. We'll just
okay. So should we plug our next, what you're going to do next?
Yeah, we could do that. Next episode after this one is going to be Alf. Yay!
Yay! I loved Alf.
Yay! I liked Alf too.
I still have an Alf doll somewhere.
Really? Was it one of the 22-inch ones?
Yeah.
Really? Those things, if I recall from my research for a little tidbit, I think they sold like 80 million of those or something like that. It was like one of the biggest selling toys.
Actually, I take it back. I don't think it's 22-inch. It's smaller.
Maybe it's 16. Yeah, I know there was like one model of the doll that just sold gangbusters for a few years.
It might be 16. In my head, in my mind's eye, like it's smaller than that, but it could have been 16.
Maybe it was 16. They said, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll talk about that soon.
Yep, and then we can talk about Ahsoka again. Yay!
Yep. Actually, do you want to talk about Ahsoka after a couple episodes, or wait until the 4 episodes are over?
Let's wait till 4 episodes because we did 4 and 4.
Yeah, that's what I figured we were going to do because after Alf, we're going to doing a strongman from the 1950s through present, kind of. That'll be interesting.
And I've never heard that motherfucker ever.
I never did either until I caught an article about him. Like, hey, this is kind of interesting. It'll make for a good read. We'll learn some stuff. We'll learn what to do and what not to do as a world famous strongman.
Right.
Yeah.
Which will never be me.
Yeah.
No danger of that.
Unless we somehow get teleported to some planet where we're just like monster gods who are stronger than anybody there.
There you go.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thanks for joining us here on Oft Off Topic. Stay tuned next week for more Oft Off Topicing. And here's our little jingle. Bye.
Bye.
This is where the ending jingle goes. This is where the ending jingle goes. I don't know if we need one. I don't know if we'll get one. But if we do, then here is where it goes.